Good morning and welcome back to Whisker Whispers Tale of VTuber. I am your host, Malcolm Bastet, and today we have Jay.
Hey, hello everyone. Hope you're doing good.
Alrighty, as you guys know, we have our games now. This is the second interview that we actually are using the games, and Jay chose to pick VTuber Would You Rather. Alright, are you ready?
Actually, wait, sorry. Can I just interrupt you?
Yes.
This is not live.
No.
Oh, I am an idiot.
No, it's a recording. If you want it can
yes.
be, but...
I'm gonna delete everything then. Because I was assuming this was live.
No, it was recorded. I'm sorry if that wasn't really apparent.
No, it's a misunderstanding on my behalf. Okay, I'm deleting everything then.
I was wondering about that. I was kind of like, wait, huh? Because my social was up on the side, so when I saw it, I was like, that kind of looks like a collab link. But
yeah,
for like stream. But
okay, it has been deleted. You're good.
Alrighty, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright, let me move this to the side so that I can have the game up. Alright, so we are doing Would You Rather VTuber edition.
Alright.
The very first one. Would you rather always use a default model or never be able to update your current model?
So default, you mean as in, like, can I change the default or is it also stuck?
I think it's stuck.
Oh. I'm gonna go with default one here. That's because I'm not too happy with the one I currently have.
Okay. Would you rather stream a horror game marathon every week or only play super cute and cozy games forever?
I'd be very unhappy with both, but I guess the cute games, because horror is really not my thing.
I get that. I tried to do like the spooky stream all October, and I can only do it for like 2, I think. I couldn't get that far. Would you rather have your VTuber model glitch randomly during stream or have a 5-second delay on everything you say?
Probably the delay. You can work around that. Having it randomly crap out? No, definitely not. You can't do much about that.
Yeah, I feel like the 5-second one is easier. Would you rather be known for your unique voice or for your unforgettable character design?
Definitely voice. There's a lot of very cool looking VTubers out there, but being known for having a certain voice, that's more unique, I'd say.
Would you rather get noticed by your favorite big time VTuber or collab with a close friend every month?
Definitely the second one. I don't actually have what they call an Oshi, so for me it doesn't mean so much. I'd much rather be playing with friends.
I just recently was like taught what an Oshi was, and after I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. Maybe I need to find my own Oshi. Would you rather never see your chat messages or have to answer every single one out loud?
Never see them.
Really?
Some of them really. That's just some things you cannot say. That's the problem.
That's true.
So yeah, it's choosing between I ignore everyone and it's not really a great experience. The second one probably gonna get me thrown off Twitch. So
that is true. I didn't even think that deep into it. Would you rather have I don't know why I got tongue tied. Would you rather have high quality fan art of your character or have fan music inspired by your stream?
I would much prefer the music. I'm much more of a music person than an art person. So I think it would be much cooler to hear. I don't know. You know, they can go nuts for all they want. Make a musical about me. That would be sweet.
That would be cool. Imagine. That would be really cool to have a musical. Would you rather be able to teleport into the game world you're streaming or bring a character from the games to life?
Probably the first one, because the second, I don't think I'm going to be too impressed with 2024 Earth.
Probably
Uh,
not.
Probably not. It depends though. If I'm playing if I'm playing anything Warhammer, I don't want to go there. Ever.
If it's like a nice cozy game, sure, I would love to jump on the
Yeah,
clouds.
for Animal Crossing, sure. Frostpunk, no, absolutely not.
Would you rather, this is the final one, would you rather have the ability to change your model's appearance in real time or instantly change your background setup?
Probably change the model. The background, I think the background is more tied into your theme usually, so it's pretty fixed, but if you somehow had the magical power to change your clothing or add some apparel, I think that would be much more useful, much cooler.
Yeah, it would be cooler. Because usually, like, that's when I talk to a lot of VTubers, that's what they say they take the most time on is the background. So, like, it goes with their niche somewhat. All right, we are finally starting on the main questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. What is your top 3 board games?
In preparation for this question, I spend a lot of time staring at my cabinet next to me in my office, which has all my board games in there. So my top 3, the following 3 I choose are, they're not going to be ones that are very well known, I suppose. But,
Okay.
so the first one I picked is Sidereal Confluence, which is a space-themed game about trading. You're all playing an alien race, and you're trying to actually work together and get research done. But you're all trying to also amass the cloud for it, and that translates into points. I chose this as my favorite because it's a very strange game in that it's all about trading. Also, you can make deals that involve loans, future deals, favors, like I do this now and then in 2 turns you do this back for me, and it's binding, you have to follow it.
Oh.
And
It sounds very
it's my
complex.
favorite game. It is a complicated game, and it doesn't help that the right thing to do really depends on how people value things. And there's a lot of things in that game that you have to try and stick some kind of value on, and it's very difficult to do. Like, a blue cube now is, roughly what that's worth. How much is a promise that you're gonna get one next turn worth, or 2 turns? Like, how do you put a price on this? And that's why I think it's my favorite. It's a very interesting puzzle. It really changes on who you play it with.
I can see that. It would definitely depend on the person you play with.
Yeah, and it doesn't help either that the game comes with a little help card, like a little reminder that says, this is approximately a fair trade. It took me about half a game to realize that card is a lie. And it's not actually a fair trade. Or at least not with people I was playing. Okay, so for my second game, I put a game called Steampunk Rally, which is a game where you use cards to assemble a racing machine made out of jet engines and steam engines and threads and tank trucks and wheels and wings. Then you have to use the parts to generate power and move your machine. So the reason I like this game a lot is it really gives you that sense of everything is coming together. Also because a lot of the cards, you have to use them by, the resources in the game are represented by dice that you throw. And so there's going to be turns in the game where you're looking at your 20 card setup that you managed to assemble, and you start your turn, you throw about 30 different colored dice, and you put it all together, you start slotting them in places, you start activating parts and moving, and it's not a very interactive game. You don't really look much what other people are doing, but it gives you that sense
more
of
on your own thing.
it gives you that sense of of the Rube Goldberg machine. Like everything is slots together. It's all you manage to piece this thing together, and now you get to reap the rewards. Throw a bunch of dice, and you see yourself pulling something really cool. And other people then wonder, how is he already halfway across the track in one turn? What happened?
Oh, I might actually have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, as my last one, I put the game Anachrony. So this is a game that's also space themed. It's about the last days of Earth. Earth is collapsing because of some calamity, which involves a meteor, impending meteor actually. Somehow the meteor hit and then traveled forward in time, and now it's coming for revenge.
Oh.
But now we know it's on its way. And so what you're trying to do is you're part of humanity, trying to save as many people as you can by sending people out into the wastelands in robots to gather stuff and make buildings. And it's also a point game, I'm not gonna lie. But why I put this on my list, why I really like it, is it involves a mechanic where you can. It's just fancy borrowing. But how it's described in the game is we have time travel technology, and you can ask resources from your future self.
Oh, that's a twist.
So, yeah. So you can teleport in resources, or they travel through time from your future you. But then when the time comes and you can't send it back, you cause time paradoxes, which is really bad. And so the game has a balance of how much do I want to risk sending things back in time when I don't even know if I will be able to do in the future when we get there.
So you really got to think about it.
Yeah, it's and it also depends on how much the other people are doing it. If you're the only one trying to mess up the timeline, it's not great. If everyone's doing it, then you can risk it a bit more. But you have to kind of get a feel for what the others are going to try and do.
I get you. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting you to say something like Monopoly.
Oh, yeah, okay. I see.
But those are some pretty good ones, though. I'm gonna have to look those up because my family's really big on board games. We do them like once a week.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
I'm gonna have to put that in my rotation.
Yeah, it's more the more niche stuff for sure.
Yep. What inspired you to become a bird VTuber, and how did the idea for the Gilded Cage Speakeasy come about?
Okay. So the bird thing was always there from the start. The Gilded Cage came actually much later. So for a little history trip, so I always, from when I started VTubing, or when I came up with the idea that I want to do this, which was inspired by a friend, and it came down to, I'm going to be gaming anyway, I might as well do something with it. That's when the bird idea already came up. Why birds? I like birds. There's no other reasoning behind it than the favorite choice of animal. I don't own any as a pet. I live in the forest, and I much prefer to look at them living their lives free out there.
Oh, that's nice.
But I see plenty of them. Yeah, I see plenty of them anyway. So I started out with trying to draw my own PNG. And I tried a couple ideas for local birds. So for reference, I live in Europe. I tried some such as the goldcrest, which is my country's national bird. So yeah, it has a little golden crest. That's why it's named that. I also tried some other local birds like the gray tit and the blue tit. But it wasn't that good. I spoke to my friend about it, the one that inspired me, and then she told me, listen, Jay, your nickname from even before I was VTubing was already Jay. It had to do with I was using a nickname before that was a contraction of my real name. But due to some unfortunate lettering, people thought I was a big fan of the rapper Jay-Z,
Oh.
which I'm not. Yeah, because I had Jay. Well, you can imagine what I had in my nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I already was telling people, can you drop the Z? Just call me Jay. And yeah, she told me, why don't you pick a J? Like, why are you wasting, not wasting, but why are you spending time trying to make a design with these birds that you don't even think are visually that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried the Eurasian jay, which is the one we have here, which actually has the same wings as a blue jay, but the rest of it is brown. And so that was also not so interesting. And that's why I chose the what I think was much more iconic is a blue jay. And so yes, I have to admit I have never seen one in real life because I live on the wrong continent.
Mm.
I know that it's a stateside bird.
Yeah,
And
there's
I,
tons where I live.
yeah, it's one of the coasts, right? I know there's one jay, the other one, the Stellar's jay, on one of the coasts, and then the blue jay is on the other side.
I'll be
Uh,
100% honest with you. I cannot tell you which coast like they're that the specific ones are at, but I know they're everywhere over here.
well, then you're on the right coast. That's all I
Yeah.
can say.
I'm not even
Uh,
gonna try and lie to you and say, oh well, I think it's this. I have no clue.
that's fair.
But that's
As for the
nice.
gilded cage, oh,
Go ahead, finish up, finish up. I'm sorry.
no worries. So the whole gilded cage that came much later. So I started out with this idea of being a bird ambassador. I had
Mm-hmm.
this whole thing going where, because a lot of VTubers are animals, I had this idea of, well, if there's so many VTubers that are animals, maybe there's a planet with all the feline ones. There's a planet with all the fox ones. There's one with all the dogs. There's all one with all the, all the different ones. And
Mm-hmm.
my story or the lore I tried to put out there was I speak for the birds, so I come from the bird planet and I go around in my little spaceship and I go speak to the other ones. And it didn't last. I dropped that because I found it very hard to make it interesting to actually tie it into things I was doing.
Mm.
It was hard to make it visual too. Like either I'd had to draw a lot of art of me meeting other VTubers, which would have been really difficult,
Mm.
or it's me traveling through space in a spaceship, which is
Also
uh,
difficult.
not very and not very interesting if it's just flying through space. Um,
Well, how you could do it is, I'll just put my own little thought that just came to me, is you could always do it where your speakeasy is where they come to meet you. If you don't want to like have to get it animated or think of it, that could be like the little meeting area that they come to your speakeasy to relax after a long day. That's where all the birds come. That could be pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, that was also one of the ideas I had. No, that's actually what I am. What I'm kind of doing is exactly that. Is they come after a long day and just come to relax.
Yeah.
The other reason I switched to the speakeasy aesthetic was because I really like the aesthetic of the Prohibition era, the 1920s, the Art Deco movement.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think it's a little steampunky. I tried not that was the beginning more so, but I kind of got away from it because it was I didn't feel like you could be you it wasn't so visually interesting. It's very brown as well. It's a
Yes.
bit of a problem with putting color on things, and so I it, I still wanted to keep a theme of going out there and meeting people, but maybe now I don't go out there to meet them, but they come to the bar and meet me.
Yeah.
And so why it's a speakeasy is because specifically of the 1920s theming. that I had going on. Also with the music, I don't use it as much anymore, but I used a long time swing playlist, so
Mm.
that's era appropriate music, and yeah, that's where that mostly came from.
I
And so
love
the
all
reason why it's
that.
called, yeah, cheers. So the reason it's called the gilded cage as well is, well, cage birds, you can keep birds in a cage. Gold is pretty fancy, but also the gilded cage is a metaphor for you're living in luxury, but you don't actually have that much freedom.
Oh.
And so why I chose that was it kind of ties into the whole prohibition thing in that this place looks really fancy, but it's not as free as you think, especially because if you remember well, during that era, alcohol was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
So, as fancy as this place is, it's entirely supported by crime. So, not very free, is it?
No.
Yeah. Um, and just maybe a last point to wrap things up. I did change my name as well.
Mm.
My initial name was JayBirbGames because I was playing board games
Oh.
and on stream, like digital adaptations, but I'll talk more about that later. And then at some point, I dropped that and it became Burb. And as you mentioned before we started, it's not bird with a D. I put Burb because it sounds funnier. And
Yes.
yeah, I saw a lot of memes with people writing, "Look at the burbs." So that's why I did it.
I was wondering if that was why.
It's on purpose. It's not a misspelling. Yeah.
Awesome. How did Jason, your street urchin mascot, come into the picture? And what's his backstory?
All right. So Jason also went through a change. The name is aptly chosen. Jason started as Jay's son,
Oh,
my
okay.
my in-law son, who came with me on the ambassador missions. So because I was traveling, I took Jason with. There was also a wife who was never named.
Mm. She's supposed to be
Uh,
mysterious.
yeah, well, it was very much she was not key to the lore at all.
Mm.
I had not thought this through, and so the reason I switched it was mostly because let me think how I can phrase this best.
Take your
Okay, so
time.
the reason I changed it most, uh, okay, so the reason I changed it was it there wasn't so much I could build around it. Also, Jason was pretty cocky. It's pretty abrasive towards me, which I wanted on purpose. But I didn't feel like it would be very cool to be abusive towards your own son, more or less, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, especially even if it's a rebellious teenager, it wasn't so great.
that's
And so,
understandable.
yeah. And so when I switched over to the whole bar thing, that's when I dropped this as well. So I got rid of the. It sounds kind of bad. I got rid of the wife because now there was no reason for her or for look. It just needed. The only reason that the wife was there was because there needed to be some progeny, right?
Yeah.
Jason was born somehow, so and that egg had to come from somewhere. But
Yep.
uh, then I changed it to uh, what I thought was more appropriate, which is that Jason was a street urchin, so some stray that I gave a job.
Oh.
And also now that so, and also I changed this very recently in a transition video I use. Jason's doing the door as well, so looks opening the little door slit to check who's coming in.
Oh, that's a good way to
Yeah.
incorporate them.
Yeah. And also then it made it so that Jason's not related to me, so I could be more abrasive to Jason and not have it be so awful.
You could be a little bit
The
more
reason also,
rough.
yeah, it can be more rough. Also for because I found it was a suggestion by the artist. Jason is not the same species of jay. It's
Mm.
Jason is a Californian scrub jay, and so therefore it also my viewers raised a lot of questions like, how is it even possible that your son is not the same species? And that's also why I dropped it.
They were asking too many questions.
Too many questions. Yes, also exactly, exactly. They were asking too many questions about that. They were asking, well, how's the wife? I don't know. I didn't think about it. How does your wife feel about you taking the kid and going? Like, well, not the kind of thing I could laugh with, but yeah.
Hey, at least there's some humor with it. You started as a bird
sure.
PNG, and now you have a humanoid live 2D model. How has that transition been for you? Any fun challenges?
Oh, yeah, there's been a lot of challenges. Okay, so the reason I switched was expressiveness. There's only so much you can do with a picture. I've seen a lot of people. There's a lot of people that make it work. They have PNGs that look really great, but there's only so much you can do in terms of motion, in terms of reflecting your how you express yourself, and that's why I switched over. As much as I wanted to try and stay bird-ish, it turns out that birds are not good at expressing human emotions. They don't have to do that. And so anything that would have looked very bird-like would not have would not be expressive, and so not worth changing. And the one person that I saw out there as she's an artist that could do a bird that was good enough, was out of reach for me.
Okay.
So that's why I chose to go for a human.
That's understandable.
In terms of challenges, you'll probably encounter the same challenge as everyone who tries to do this, which is who do I even choose for the model? This is the eternal hunt. Also, because there's so many people out there that try to jostle with you, that try to scam you, as unfortunate as it is.
Definitely.
So it's a challenge to find the right artist to work with. And for anyone listening to this, I suggest that you spend a lot of time on that. Then after all of that, the challenges were mostly a lot of technical challenges. Now you need to get a camera, because before it's just PNG is just microphones, so now you need a camera. Ideally, you get an iPhone because it has the better tracking. Not sponsored, but it just works better. You need to learn some non-technical things, which is now it actually matters where you look and how you emote. I had to struggle with this a lot. I struggled a lot with this in the beginning because I was looking a lot away from the game at screens on the side, like OBS and my chat. And so you could tell from my model that my eyes were continually switching from left to right. And I couldn't seem to be able to focus. It gave a very unfocused impression. There's some other technical things. For example, learning how to set the model up right, how to use VNet, which is the thing where you can have multiple models if you're doing a collab. And the challenges I have right now is I'm not really using a lot of the features well. I don't have a lot of items or toggles, as they're known. And that's definitely a challenge that I still, after all this time I've been doing this, that's still something I need to work on.
Like, when you mean toggles, what do you mean?
So toggles are things. Okay, yeah, toggles are usually things like different expressions, like more exaggerated expressions on your model. They could be different poses.
Okay,
they could be clothing. Usually it's called a toggle if it's part of your model, as opposed to items, which are things you slap on top, like a hat or, I don't know, weapons or armor, or those are things you can slap on after. But toggles are things that are really built in, that you cannot just add on as an afterthought.
Oh, okay, because I use like a totally different setup. So when you said toggles, I was like, are you talking like props or something like that? But I totally understand now.
I see. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with the 3D VTubing, so I don't really know the what would be analogous for that.
Yeah, I get you. I just lost my place. Hold on, give me a second.
No worries.
Do you ever miss how simple it was having the PNG model?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's so much easier. Don't need to bother with plugging your phone in. You don't need to bother with all the software. Um, it's a lot easier. Especially, it's also a lot easier on your PC, so you don't need to worry now anymore about, oh, will my PC be able to handle this
Yeah.
or not? I also miss, but I was not doing that much, but I could have done it, which is with a PNG, you can swap it so much easier. Getting new models, pretty difficult. Getting another piece of art that you can swap out with, not so difficult.
Yeah, it's easier.
But yeah, is it much simpler? Yes, but I much prefer still the expressiveness of the other options, the 2D and 3D options.
That's understandable. Okay, let me see. Well, I feel like you kind of answered that question already. What was the biggest learning curve of transitioning into your VTuber model?
Absolutely, the biggest learning curve is that now there's a camera pointing at you, so
Mm-hmm.
now it matters where you look. Now it matters where how your now your facial expression matters. So if you're someone with RBF like me, that's not going to cut it anymore. You have to actually smile and frown and laugh and do all those things.
I know I had that problem when I first started out. For some reason, I guess I naturally arch my eyebrows. So it always looks like I'm mad.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It is really bad. And it's like, no, I'm happy. I don't know why it's making me look mad. So even now, I have to, for the software I use, they allow you to lock your model into like a happy expression. And so if you're not talking, it makes it smile automatically.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit
Yeah.
easier.
I've also had to it's funny you mentioned that because I also had to play around with the eye mostly the like you said the eyebrow options.
Mm-hmm. What drew you into strategy and roguelike games? Have these always been your go-to genres? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely. So yeah, I grew up with games. So strategy is very broad. When I was younger, I grew up with games like Command and Conquer. I
Mm.
think it was Command and Conquer Generals when I was in high school. That was the real time. There was the Earth series. I'm probably going to be naming a whole bunch of real time strategy games that nobody remembers because people mostly know StarCraft. Age of Empires 2
Oh yeah, I
was
know
there as well.
StarCraft. I know that one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't play StarCraft, but I did play Age of Empires. Uh, there was Civilization. So more of these. With strategy, I mean those kind of games. I mean games like SimCity.
Mm-hmm.
SimCity 4, I think, was when I was in high school. Um, no, actually, I had the 3000. I had 3000. I had the one before. So yeah, SimCity. Those were the kinds of games I played. The real time strategy and this what you would call city builders. That's what I would go with strategy.
Okay.
For roguelikes, that's much more recent because I don't remember those being around much back then. And so what pulls me to these genres is the real time strategy and city builder genre. It's all about. I like that you put a. It's all a bit about putting a plan together. You put your base together, you build things, you pilot your if it's real time strategy, you pilot your army. You need to be tactical in the battles themselves. Making sure that you pick off the right units of the enemy. You have to be strategic about it, making sure that you take the right spots on the map. You claim the resources. For more city builders, it's going to be slightly different, right? SimCity, it's more about how do I make a layout that works?
Mm-hmm.
how can I ensure that there's adequate schooling, police protection, fire brigades
Oh, those
for
go.
a game like Civil?
Those games get
Yeah.
deep.
Oh, they definitely do, and it's been getting they've been getting further with it. If you compare City Skylines or Skylines 2 now, there's so much more at play than SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon did. They were a bit simpler in that sense.
Mm.
For the roguelikes, so I mostly like the shooter ones, like RoboQuest or Gunfire Reborn. And the deck builders I like a lot, like Slay the Spire is one of my favorite games. Why I like roguelikes or roguelites is more accurate so much is the whole you have to adapt to what you get, right? So the
Mm.
whole premise of those games is you do runs, you start the run with some basic loadout or tools, or in Slay the Spire, a basic deck. And then as you beat missions, as you go through the game, you get more randomized options
Oh,
that you have
okay.
to work with. And so it's up to you to decide how can I make best use of what the game gives me to make what I'm trying to do work. And you don't know in advance what it's going to be because it's all randomized. So I like that a lot, having to make do with what you get.
I know I tried to get in those type of games, but I raged too much. And then
Which one specifically?
I forget what it's called. It was like I think it was 2 years ago. I tried to get into the strategy games, but I gotta understand when I start the game, it's gonna take time. You know,
Yeah,
it's not gonna be fast paced 24/7.
absolutely not. And also I kind of forgot this at first. To add on to the whole strategy thing, of course, there's the factory subgenre. So games like Factorio, Satisfactory, Dyson Sphere Program. I like those a lot, and it's an extension beyond the city builder part, which is not only are you putting together this whole industry machinery, but then at the end, you see it come all together. It all works. The game kind of plays itself a bit, I suppose, but that's the satisfying part. And a lot of satisfaction from that genre, which I'll touch upon later, is the whole that you keep tinkering with it and that you keep trying new things and reworking parts.
Definitely. What would you say is your favorite game to stream, and does it differ from what you enjoy playing off stream?
For sure. Yes, there's definitely a big difference there. There's going to be some bias in my answer because off stream, the main criteria is this fun?
Mm-hmm.
If you're streaming a game, now there's the additional thing of do people like to see this, or do they like me? Do they like seeing me play this? There's a difference there. I'm making a difference there. For example, I know a lot of people like to watch Valorant.
Yes.
I would very much not like to play that game, and so I don't think people would enjoy me playing Valorant because I'd not be having a great time. Specifically, I have nothing against Valorant, by the way. It's just not my thing. For my favorite game to stream, I think by far is Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World specifically.
Is that the one with
I
the
just
car?
always the car.
Yeah, I came into your
No,
stream.
you're thinking of Final Fantasy.
Is that one where
That's
like you were
Final-
like in the garage with the car?
No, that's Pacific Drive.
Oh, okay.
That's Pacific Drive. There's no Monster Hunter is exactly what it sounds like. Is you go out and hunt monsters.
Oh, okay.
No, the car game, that's Pacific Drive. Yeah. And so why I like it, especially like Monster Hunter a lot, because it's just chilled. You go out for a hunt. You dispatch. You get rid of a monster. You get the rewards. It's kind of self-contained. It's very fun with friends because you have to coordinate a bit what you do. I played a lot with the same friends as well, which I'll mention a bit further on as well. And that's why it's my favorite stream game. And so I would not play this off stream. I tried playing a different game, the series Monster Hunter Rise off stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just playing it alone. It's not fun. Like I want to be there and coordinate, trying to how do we kill this thing that's about the size of a house with the three of us. I don't like doing it alone because there's you can't do it alone, so you get a little NPC replacement. You get a little cat
Oh,
to
okay.
help you, but it's not this. It's not the same as having another player, really. And so I say my favorite game off stream is definitely Factorial, but it can be exhausting. I don't always have the brain power for this kind of game because it also takes a lot of time to get into it. The factory games. It's not the kind of thing that you can pick up for 10 minutes. It's you need to really get back to it and think, what was I doing again? Or what was I trying to work on?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something you can pick up easily.
Yeah, you kind of got to ease into it.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most difficult strategy and roguelike game you've played, and how do you keep calm during tough gameplay?
Okay, so for roguelike, I'm going to cheat a little. It's not really a roguelike,
Mm-hmm.
but Pacific Drive, the car game, on expert difficulty, is not a good time. It's just really punishing. So for those of you who don't know this game, it's kind of a horror-ish game, but at its core, it's a survival, what they call an extraction looter. So you go in with the car, you collect stuff. There's a story behind it as well. So you have to go through these missions. You collect stuff, and then you have to get out. And there's a lot of these anomalies, which are I'm not going to spoiler it too much, but let's say nasty things that are happening that will wreck you, but mostly the car, because in the car you're safer.
Yeah.
And so what happens if you amp up the difficulty on this is you have a lot less time to get out of there before the storm comes in, which is it's like the storm in Fortnite
Okay.
or those games. Yeah, so you have to get out of there. It's really bad. And also you get less resources. The car uses about, I think, 3 times as much petrol, so you have to keep scavenging petrol too. It's just and it's just really punishing because if you die, you lose everything that you had on you. So
Oh.
it sends you back to the garage with a completely beaten up car and nothing.
Oh, wow.
Everything that you picked up on that run is now. You can reclaim it, but it's not easy. And so, even though it's not what I would call like stereotypical roguelike, it was still the toughest experience I had in that genre. For the most difficult strategy game, here I'm gonna put From the Depths, which is a sandboxy game about mostly building boats and arming them, and then you send them out to fight. You mostly simulate battles.
Okay.
It's very sandboxy. Why was this difficult? The controls. Just how to build things in that game is something else. It has keyboard controls, not mouse controls, as you would expect by. So you're trying to place blocks with these arcane controls. It's a game that doesn't explain a lot to you, in the sense of it vaguely tells you this is how boats float, but it doesn't actually tell you how you should really build one. And I found it difficult just to make something that half worked, and then when I tested it out, it just capsized immediately, and that was the end of that. So I spent a whole stream. I spent 3 hours making a boat that was garbage.
Oh, wow. I don't think I would have picked that one back up.
No, I don't think I would either. I still like the game, but I'm not streaming it anymore. So how I keep calm in this kind of situations is, okay, so firstly, how if it's really difficult, first thing I would do is try to laugh at what's happening. If it's especially it's very easy to. I have a problem with this personally. I find it very easy to get angry because you feel like you're letting the audience down by being bad at the game.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do that. You're not the best gamer on earth. Nobody is. Well, maybe unless you're in T1, if you were watching that today,
Mm-hmm.
the League of Legends World Championship. Then you can maybe call yourself one of the best gamers on earth. But unless you're that, you're not the best gamer. And so you have to rationalize it a bit. You have to laugh at yourself, say, okay, that happened. It helps also to externalize it a bit. Just say that, because most of the time it is just really unfortunate. So you had some bad luck.
Yeah.
You made a decision you didn't know was going to turn out that way. And I think that's much more important than trying to blame yourself for what happened. It's not going to help.
Usually not.
No. In the other than that, yeah, you got to try and stay positive about it. Think about that even if you're not good at the game, people are there to watch you and not to see the best gameplay in the world. Because like I mentioned just before, like there's other places you can go if you want to see absolute peak performance in gaming.
That's true.
And then at the end of the day, if it's too much, time a break strategically. Or the very extreme case is maybe this is not a game you should stream, which has happened to me. Like the boat one, which is we're going to put this down and not come back to this.
Definitely. I know I've had moments where I've been in stream and I have a bad habit of not trying the game before I actually stream it.
Oh.
And we'll get deep into the game and it could have like a really good storyline, but I just suck at it. And people in chat are trying to help me and it's just not going anywhere.
I was about to say, because I saw you playing Cuphead the other day. If you went
Yes.
into that blind, it's known for being tough.
I watched my siblings play it when I was younger, and I was like, oh, that should be easy, you know? You're like, oh, they made it seem easy. So when I went in and I started playing it, and I saw I couldn't get past the first level, I was just like, all right, let's switch hands.
You didn't know that you could get so angry at a potato.
No, I didn't. I was getting mad at everything. The sunshine, the background. I didn't want to see it all. Okay, let me see. You started streaming since February 2023. How has your content evolved over the months?
So, as I mentioned earlier, my name used to be JayBirbGames. So I started out with digital adaptations of board games. We're not talking Monopoly. I started out playing things like Wingspan, because of course a board game themed around birds would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I played games like Root, Everdell, Terraforming Mars. These were all games that I had touched on or I own, and they had not tabletop simulator, but actual converted versions with the rules and everything in them. That's how I started out. I stopped doing this because it was too niche, and so I had two problems with that. The first one was it wasn't so interesting for people to watch. I felt like I spent more time explaining to people what happens than actually playing the game. It's not like, if you compare it to other genres, for example, if you play a shooter, even if you don't explain people exactly what's going on, they can see that you're pointing a gun at things and they die.
Yeah.
Right? At least they get the gist. If you play a racing game, don't need to explain to them exactly how the vehicle you're driving works. They look at it and they see that you're driving a vehicle and
you're trying
racing.
to win.
You're trying to win the race, exactly. But with the board game stuff, it's you don't see that, and then people say, okay, so he's doing something, and then what? And it's like, well, I get points now. Like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool.
You got people wanting you got people over there looking for the manual.
Yeah, exactly. And the second reason I had to stop was there just are not enough of these.
Mm.
So I had to either decide, do I want to run this game back again, or do I do something else? And that's when I decided uh, we're going to drop the board game thing. I changed my name because it was still early on enough that I could change my name on Twitch and my socials without getting the hit of people not being able to find you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to variety streaming then after that. So just a lot of variety. The genres that I mentioned before, but also some other stuff from time to time. And also, the big change there was in the beginning, I didn't really collaborate at all. And then later on, I collaborated more and less over the months, depending on availability and how I felt about it. So yeah, that's we dropped the board games. They're gone. It's
Yeah.
only in the name that keeps a trace of the original legacy, if I can call it that.
Hey, you. Everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a connection between the relaxed atmosphere of your speakeasy theme and the type of games you play?
Um. Okay. So it for atmosphere, the relaxed. I try to keep a relaxed vibe. I'm not someone who shouts a lot. I'm not someone who tries not to swear a lot. Let's put it like that. Try to keep it calm. So yeah, most of the games I do are more slower paced. They're not exactly high action shooters, for example, or uh, high intensity games, competitive games. I don't really do that.
Mm.
In terms of the actual theming, the 1920s era theming, not so much. I used to try to tie the music I used in more, but the problem was I only really had a couple suitable playlists, and I got really sick of the one I used too much. So I don't want to listen to it myself anymore. And in terms of games, I do try to sometimes pull the theme in if it's appropriate. I picked up a game recently called News Tower,
Mm.
which is it's a management game about running a newspaper printing. That I picked up because it was set in 1930s Brooklyn.
Oh,
So it
okay.
was really appropriate for the time to go with my theme in terms of the style of the game and the era it was set in.
Yeah, it gelled
I
well.
remember, yeah, I remember making a stream about it, and or I streamed part of it, and I remember one of the news articles you could print very early on being about them rolling up a booze smuggling ring, and I said, oh, "Damn, that's bad news for me."
I can see that. How do you engage with your community while streaming more complex and slow paced games?
Okay, to preface this, I'm very bad at this. I am still learning after all this time. After uh, February last year, I'm still not good at this. So there's some degrees of things you can talk about on stream
Mm-hmm.
that I've noticed in terms of effectiveness, if I can call it that. The biggest ones are if you find interesting ideas, or not just factoids about the day, but really ideas, something that you picked up while you were reading, but not just news, but like bigger concepts that can invite a lot of discussion. Those are things that are very good to talk about while you're in the slower game. Um, a bit lower on that list would be talking about your day, talking about uh, what happened recently,
Mm-hmm.
and what I found really does not work is doing the play-by-play thing, which is talking about what you're doing. It's very basic, but people are not so. It's not very interesting to listen to, so I try to stay away from that. Sometimes you can get some help from chat. Sometimes there's someone who's willing to engage you in something, but I've learned that it's best to not assume that there is somebody
Yeah.
that you can engage with And so therefore it's going to be you who has to bring the conversation. So my advice for this would be preparation. Try to come up in advance with things to talk about, things that you saw interesting, things that you found interesting. I'm I've even considered, although I'm not very good with keeping up with this, of keeping kind of a journal on my phone and just whenever I run into something that I think, this could be cool to note it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could be nice. Because the other stuff I mentioned, the play by book play thing, not so great. Talking about your day is okay, but it depends also on how much of your life do you want to discuss.
Yeah.
Not just because of doxing risk, but also because I had a couple of times in the past where issues from my work started leaking into the stream, and that was really not good, and I dropped that. So I now set a limit for myself. Like, don't if you had a bad day at work, just say it sucked and move on.
Yeah.
Don't try and talk about this stuff, because then it turns into the complaint stream, and nobody wants to listen to you complaining.
Usually not. I know that's even harder for me at times because usually for my chat, we talk about a lot of stuff. So we bounce from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. But with anything, there's going to be like quiet spells that go over and nobody wants to talk about anything. So sometimes I have segments sometimes, and we look up food. Weirdly.
Oh.
Yes, because one of my Avent viewers, his name's Nunny. He's Swedish, so we look at Swedish pastries and stuff. And I'm half Polish, so we look at like snacks and desserts and all that different type of stuff when it starts to get a little bit boring.
Okay, that's really cool. You said you're half Polish. I've had the luck of being able to visit it once last year.
Oh, really? How was it?
I really enjoyed it. I went to visit some friends. I had a great time, and if we're talking about food, we very much went to get pierogi, and it was great.
It is the best. I had it so much growing up. Okay, let me see where we at. Have you encountered any funny or unexpected moments with viewers while streaming?
Okay, so I'd like to start this out with saying I've been extremely lucky, in my opinion. I've not had to deal with the kind of viewers that you see people complain about on the socials, or I've seen myself in other people's chats. They've generally been quite nice. I've not had anyone be derogatory towards me, or I've had people hear about experiences with people saying, well, I don't like this. I'm going to watch this other person, which I personally find is extremely rude to say.
Yes.
But yeah, in terms of unexpected moments, I have had some moments where I had a viewer who actually we had a pretty in-depth thought out discussion about certain topics, which I think is pretty impressive because most of these chat things, also the kind of things that I usually write in chat when I'm watching other people is throwaway comments or little haha funny things.
Yeah.
So you're not really expecting a real in-depth discussion, but it has happened. I'm really surprised. As for unexpected moments as well is having some people drop by that I watched or I don't really watch, but they're tangentially related to another person I watch, and then they drop by anyway, and they say, "I've had it happen." They said, "Hey, this other person told me about you, so I'm here to check it out." I was like, "That's really cool. Thank you so much for that." In terms of funny moments, I don't really have a specific example, but the most common one is me taking some kind of stupid decision or stupid risk. Usually going with usually saying something like, half the time it works every time, or we have to gamba and it never works. And then you have chat shouting at you, asking, why did you do that? It's, I had to try, the 1 out of 10 times it works. You think I'm
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And the other 9 out of 10, you can laugh at me. It's okay.
Yeah. I usually end up the butt of the joke in my chat a lot of times because oh my gosh, the one they won't let me live down is I was playing a game and I didn't know where to go, and it was all I had to do was push a button. It was like an elevator, and all I had to do was push the elevator button. So
Oh
almost
no.
every stream they gotta bring it up. I'm just like, I didn't know, because like previously in the game, none of the elevators worked. So
Oh.
how was I supposed to know this one elevator worked finally? So I wasn't even looking at it, and I was stuck for like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst when you have a moment like that and they won't let it go. But then
Nope.
again, I found that's also how you create some of the best inside jokes, if you can call it, the best memes
Mm-hmm.
or funny moments, and then people. I can actually share one with you, which is Jason used to before I got rid of it. So I used to use AI powered text to speech,
Oh, okay.
as in the actual voice generation
Mm-hmm.
for my mascot, and I had to get rid of it in the end because one, the I wasn't really happy with the way that these things are treated. I wasn't really sure where the voice material was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem was that it started speaking Simlish a lot of the
Oh
time.
my
So
gosh.
people would redeem some text and it would start speaking. It would sound like Sim. It would sound vaguely like a language, but it was complete nonsense.
Mm.
Um, and so what happened was there's a moment which I turned into a redeem later where the text to speech messed up really bad and randomly it shouts shoo ka and
What?
I don't know where it came from, and then someone clipped it and it became a thing, and now you can press a button on the channel and Jason will shout it.
I'm definitely gonna have to
um
use that.
yeah, that's how you create memorable moments for sure.
I think that's like the best way. What's your process for choosing which games to stream? And do you often experiment with new genres outside of your usual rotation?
Okay. My process for choosing games is mostly feel. What do I feel like?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and also, what do I feel is gonna go well? As in, um, so usually when coming up with a schedule, because I do weekly schedules, so then I'm thinking, what I usually try to do is try to come up with put some games on there that I know will work reasonably well, and then put something that's more experimental on there, something that I don't really know how this is gonna be.
Mm.
Or sometimes when I do some unscheduled things, such as on the weekend, sometimes I do an unscheduled stream. That's when I put the experimental game in, like that boat game I mentioned earlier. That did not go well, so that's why I put it at a moment I don't usually, an unscheduled moment at least.
Oh, I didn't think about doing that.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's a lot of. Do I feel like it? Do I have a playthrough in progress? That's also gonna depend. That's also gonna influence my choice. Like, do I feel like starting something new? Do I feel like continuing a game? How did it go the last time I streamed it? Did people enjoy it? Were people interacting a lot? I know I do this as a hobby, but you do. Part of me still wants to, still cares about the numbers in a sense, in the sense of I want to do this as good as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not in it for the money, but I do want to at least. I know it's kind of saying for compare it to playing an instrument. Like you wouldn't want to learn how to play piano and then be happy with playing piano badly, would you? Like, you would try to improve, and I think that is the same. Part of the process also involves collabs, which is can I get a collab sorted at that moment in time? And so that's going to also influence the game choice. I'm not going to feature a game if I'm going to collab on it soon.
Mm-hmm.
For example. Yeah. In terms of things I don't do is I don't write the hype. I know there's a lot of people out there who will always be streaming the latest game. I don't do that. That's not part of my decision process.
Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like when you try to ride the hype, especially now because games are like $60 a pop, you're gonna be broke. I tried to
Oh
do
yeah,
it, and it didn't work out.
it becomes really pricey. You're gambling a bit on how long the hype can last, I guess. I'm not saying that you should do the other opposites, the other extreme, and only play and never play anything that's new. But yeah, trying to get everything new as soon as it hits, it's tough. It's gonna be really tough.
Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you might not even like the game.
Yeah, that would be the worst if you dropped full price, like you said, and then it turns out to not be something you like, or it turned out to be to have some bad defects on launch. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's unfortunate.
I think so. What do you enjoy the most about streaming co-op shooters? Do you have a favorite game or teammate?
Right. So what I like a lot about co-op shooters is, well, okay, firstly, shooting things is fun. I don't think we can argue about that. But I don't like the pressure of a competitive shooter. I
Mm-hmm.
used to play in high school. I used to play Counter-Strike Source
Mm-hmm.
and Team Fortress 2, and it can get pretty frustrating in competitive games, to be very honest. So I much prefer the co-op ones because it's more relaxed. There's not as much pressure. Uh, I like streaming it because it's quite easy to find people that want to play with you because it's such a popular genre. I also feel what really helps is a lot of these games make it very easy to jump in and out of games. For example, I know I'm gonna give an example. Helldivers 2.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring in a new team member just like that. There's no penalty. There's also not really a punishment if they have to leave halfway through the mission. So yeah, this kind of game where people can jump in and out very easily.
Yeah,
That's
you
what I
can just
like a lot
enjoy
about
the
it.
game.
Yeah, you don't have to worry um, about getting everything sorted beforehand. So you can start up one of these games and you can ask some people and say, I'm going to be playing this later. Jump in if you want to. And usually you can get some people to do so, and it's a good time. In terms of my favorite game in this genre, it's going to be Deep Rock Galactic, the dwarf mining. Mining as a dwarf will never get old. I think it's a really good game. The gunplay is very good.
Mm-hmm.
The theming is nice. The whole cave system, how it does the caves and everything. It's just really good experience. And as stupid as it sounds, fake bonding. I was gonna say, pretending to be a dwarf is pretty fun with the whole bar thing and you know, shouting rock and stone every 2 seconds. That's fun.
Maybe I should give that
In
game a
terms of my
try.
favorite, sorry,
I said maybe I should give that game a try. I didn't know you had all that in there.
it's pretty fun. I can definitely recommend it. And it goes on sale pretty often if you do want to try it. So
Cool.
not sponsored, but yeah, you can. It's nice. In terms of favorite teammates, I'm gonna cheat a little. It's not technically. We had a discussion just before this about whether it's a shooter because I use a bow. But my favorite team is the Chroma Rangers in Monster Hunter World, which are my two friends, Faye and Jackie, and it's Faye underscore Zex and Small underscore Jackie on Twitch. They're two really good friends of mine. We've been streaming for a long time together, and so the reason we are the Chroma Rangers is we kind of came up with it in Monster Hunter World to all have the same kind of gala suit outfit, but we all have different colors to match our general VTuber colors. So Jackie is red, Faye is green, and I don't think I need to tell you which color I am. I think you can guess.
Definitely.
And yeah, and it's a very good time. So those are my favorite people for sure to play with. And also for everyone listening to the podcast, we don't have a yellow member, so if you're offering or if anyone else is offering,
there's a spot for you.
There's a spot for you, exactly.
Do you have any rituals or habits to maintain the chill vibe on stream, especially when a game gets frustrating?
So I'm going to say a lot of the same things that I said before when we were talking about how to keep calm. But when it comes to frustrating, often what happens is there's two scenarios I can describe that has happened. One of them is if I'm playing something more puzzly. For example, I was playing the original Talos Principle. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's 3D puzzle game. It's very like Portal, if you've heard of that.
Yes.
And so there's going to be moments in there where you don't know how to solve the puzzle. It's that simple. And there's also moments where in other games, the building games like Factorio or I was going to say City Skylines, but I don't actually play that game. But there's some moments in these games where you realize that an hour ago or 2 hours ago, you made a bad decision and you're going to have to break apart a lot of the existing things that you have and move them somewhere else, or you realize that you're going to have to do some really repetitive activity for a bit to backtrack. Those are the frustrating moments for sure. And just like trying to stay calm, the best way to go about it is to laugh it off, accept that nobody gets it. Nobody is perfect. You don't get it right the first time. Laugh a bit at yourself. And especially in these cases, accept that your audience understands that you don't need to be progressing at breakneck speed all the time.
Yeah.
They will understand if there's going to be a slow moment, if you need to backtrack. Or in the case of the puzzle games, they're going to understand if you're going to be sitting there for a minute or two, scratching your head, trying to think what you should do.
I mean, you're only human.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely something people gotta come with that thought of it's not gonna be perfect all the time. There's gonna be times where you get stuck and you looking at the wall and you're just like, come on, please. It's gonna happen.
But it's hard to, it's sometimes very hard to not have that mindset, especially because of how competitive this all is. And you're thinking, it's very easy to get stuck in the thought trap of, oh no, this moment is slightly less enjoyable than the rest. They will never forgive me for this. And in reality, that's just not how it works.
Nope. Since you started streaming, has there been any moments where you wanted to step away? What keeps you going?
Oh, a lot of them. Unfortunately, due to a lot of work-related stress, there's been a lot of moments where I had to cancel streams, I had to move streams, I had to take time off from streams. And a lot of those moments definitely gave me the sense of, can I even keep doing this? Because so much of my work stress was leaking into the stream, and I felt like I couldn't put in 100% anymore. And that very quickly translates into the feeling of, if I can't give my best, should I even try? Which is also a bit, it's not a great attitude. It's exactly the same kind of attitude as the one before, which is I cannot solve the puzzle exactly the first time or beat the level the first time around, so I shouldn't even try. That's not a great attitude. But yeah, definitely due to external factors. I thought about it a lot. I've also had some moments that didn't really make me consider stopping. But in the past, I've had some really bad technical difficulties, just because my setup is a little complicated, and computers are just temperamental in general.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with some games that give some not so great experiences, like Pacific Drive. I had a really unfortunate experience where I died one a half a second before I was able to make it to the gateway to escape,
Oh.
which is just as punishing as getting stuck in the middle of the storm in the middle of nowhere. But it feels more frustrating, I can tell you that. Um, and that can threw me off really hard. But in the end of the day, I'm still doing it. I still enjoy it. And the reason I keep going is fairly simple, which is I enjoy it. I keep coming back to it. It's something I want to invest my time and effort into.
Mm-hmm.
And also money, of course, that goes with it. But mostly it's my time and my energy. And I, what also keeps me going is the thought that the little messages you get and the chat and okay, seeing the number in chat, even though I know you shouldn't look at it. That's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
But I do occasionally. I can't help but peek at it sometimes, and seeing people write in chat, that's okay. But you get feedback from friends. They're asking you things, or they write to you and they said, "I was watching you the other day and it was really cool." That's what really keeps me going. Is you have people telling you, "Hey, I really like this. It made my day a little better," and
Yeah.
that's the real drive for me.
I can see that. It's always nice to know that. I know I like having people tell me, "Oh, I really enjoyed it," or "It was like a mood boost for me," you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like it made somebody happy. So that helps push me along, because there's times with anything where you're just like, man, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, especially because of what I mentioned before with the number pushing. It's very easy to get into the trap of the numbers say I'm not doing well, but in reality, there's people behind that. And I don't want to sound, very corny, but and I don't want to be one of those people that puts those posts out all the time with "you can do it, it's gonna be fine." But there was one recently, a bit more recent, that I saw that puts it a little more into perspective. If you look at the numbers and you only see, like, let's say single digits, like 8 people. Now imagine that you're watching a movie with 8 people at your house, and they just happen to be watching you. Like that's 8 genuine people. It's not a small amount of. And no, if you think of it as them being in your living room, like 8
Yeah,
people, that's
that's
quite
a
a lot
lot.
of people. There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you can scale it up. Although I don't think it works so well for bigger numbers, because if you ask someone, what does 150 people look like? It's kind of hard to imagine that, like the size of the crowd. But even if it's still a small number of people, like you just think that they're real people. They're there for you.
Yeah, and they're really just sitting there. That's a better way. It's just how you perceive it.
Yeah, exactly. You turn it from a faceless number into something more concrete.
Yeah, that's a good way to see it. Do you see the Gilded Cage Speakeasy evolving in the future? Any new idea or plans you're thinking of introducing?
Ooh. Okay, so the idea itself is not super fleshed out.
Okay.
Aside from the era it's in and the style, there's not much behind it, to be very honest. I'm not going to be stepping away from the theming. I think by now that's pretty locked in.
Yeah, that's the niche.
That's the niche I want to be in. I think changing that too much would be not so great for the brand. Let's just put it like that. Like one of the, not speaking about the Gilded Cage in particular, but something like changing the species of bird I represent. That is a terrible idea by now. That's gonna cause me a lot of harm. for the brand more than anything else. But yeah, anything new? Yes, I do have some ideas. I'm always trying to improve things. I'm trying to get rid of one of the last screens I have that is more or less cobbled together by myself. So I'm working with an artist to change that.
Mm-hmm.
And some small bits here and there, and probably down the line, but that's the eternal VTuber cycle, which is change the model again. But
Yeah.
that's the VTuber life. You're never ever happy with the model,
You always want to
and
tweak something.
you always want a new one, even if
Mm-hmm.
the one you have is perfectly cool and perfectly fine. So that's the plan. A new screen, replacing the last self-made screen, or partially self-made one, and then the model. But that's probably a 2025 plan.
Yeah, that's something totally doable.
Yeah.
How has the VTuber community influenced or shaped your content creation journey?
A lot. I mean, okay. So to start this question off, I don't watch any corporate ones,
Okay.
so I'm not familiar with that part of the community. I don't know much about corporate VTubing, what they do, the community around them. I have zero interest in this. I just, I don't know. I tried watching some of them, including the very top ones, and I didn't get it. Like for me, it was I didn't find it interesting to watch. The personal contact, oh well, in that's maybe not call it that because that's more parasocial than it should be. But
Mm-hmm.
let's just say that if there's 9,000 other people watching, that your message it goes missing. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
not.
It's less personal.
It's less personal. It's less direct. Yeah. But I do look a lot at what people around me do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So try to base yourself on, yeah, ideas other people have. So that has definitely influenced some things I do. It has some not so much influenced my choice of game because that's my main content. It has not influenced that so much, but I have taken inspiration at times from layouts, layouts or event ideas. I'm not gonna lie, I have seen people do stuff and then thought I should probably think of doing that myself, and then ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not straight up copy pasting it, of course.
Yeah,
That
of
would
course
be
you tweak it to your own style.
yeah. Just take the general idea and
Yeah.
make it your own. Yeah. Um, there's also a lot of things from the community that I saw that I personally do not like, and so I use that as to learn from that and see how that panned out for them, and then realize maybe I should not be doing this, or I don't really like doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to go into too much detail on this because it's going to sound pretty negative, but if I can put one thing out there, it is that sometimes it does feel like there are some people out there who are a little too eager for your wallet. I'll just put it like that.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that can get a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I know there's the appeal of this can be income, but some people push it a little far. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the final question of the night. What advice would you give to new VTubers who are just starting out, especially those considering using a PNG model or making big character transitions?
Okay, so here just to be more clear about the question, I assume if they're gonna make a big character transition, they're not new anymore, right? Or at least new-ish.
I would say newish.
Newish. Okay, so early enough that you can still pull it off.
Yeah, you can still change it
Okay.
around a little bit.
Okay. Okay, so my first advice here for the PNG part specifically is just go. I've seen a lot of people waffle around with uh, trying to set up the perfect socials and making sure that their first stream is going to be perfect and having
Mm-hmm.
the perfect model, the perfect background. Like, no, just get the software of your choice, get a picture from somewhere. Well, no, I'm not saying steal one, but get something not to, get something simple. In my case, I drew it myself. It was not great, but it was something.
Mm-hmm.
And just go live. I know that sounds a bit simple, but a big part of this is realizing, do you like doing this? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that if you're gonna be like most of us and play games on stream, I'm sure you like gaming. But do you like talking while you're gaming? Do you like rambling about things? Can you keep up with the chat? And those are things that you really need. Do you like having some sort of commitment? Right now, you have
Mm-hmm.
people are expecting you to show up every X days if you do a schedule. Is that something you like? And that's why I feel the best advice I can give you if you are new to this is j- try it out.
Yeah.
Because at
Get the
this
feel
point,
for
if
it.
you realize, yeah, if you get the feel for it, exactly, see if it's your vibe, see how you feel about it, and if then you realize, I don't think this is for me, you didn't lose a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a good experience. And if you do realize that it's for you, then you can continue. But I can I can dread to think of. I have seen some people. I've seen it several times where they start out, they have the perfect overlay, they have the model, they have everything, and then 2 weeks later, a month later, they're gone, disappeared.
Yeah.
And you go look at their socials, and it says the last post is from 6 months ago, and they disappeared. They just left.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe sometimes it's life that gets in the way, but still, like, I I don't want to. I'd hate for someone to figure out after they pass that point that it's not for them.
Yeah.
My advice for the changing your character is going to be a bit more difficult because I'm assuming that you're asking this because I went from PNG to Live 2D, which is, to be honest, it's a fairly natural progression in VTubing. Most people don't stay on PNG; they usually move up to one of the other options.
Mm-hmm.
My advice would be, in this case, that especially if it's early on, don't be too attached to your character idea. You can still swap it out.
Oh.
Later on, I think it would be more difficult once you have a bit of a brand. But if you're new,
Play around with
you
it.
still you're still trying to find your place as well. You're still trying to find what niche you fit in, where exactly you want to go with this. And I think that's the best time to experiment with it. And I think also what plays into this is some people have sunk cost fallacy, which is I put already so much effort and or time and or money into my idea number one, so I don't want to drop it. But if you really have that feeling that it's not the right way to go, then I would definitely drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's I definitely changed my design a lot too in the beginning. The first image I drew myself looks nothing like the next ones after, and then it got tweaked even more when I got a professional artist involved.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
bound
vibe
to
was there.
happen.
Yeah, that will you're that's yes, I think that's an important point to highlight is there will be evolution. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there's any of these. There's nobody I have seen in the VTubing community that ended up where they started. They all shifted, they all changed styles, they all. I don't think there's anyone who has stuck with the same thing and ran with it for a long time. They keep the general trend of what they're doing, but
It changes somewhere.
yeah, there will always be some change. Especially, I think that's the big advantage as well of doing this. If you do, I think that would be good. My last closing advice, I guess. If you choose to go for VTubing, you have the advantage of not having the downside of being with a cam streamer. The downside there is you cannot change you.
Yeah.
You cannot physically be a different person. And if you want to change your appearance, it's mostly going to be clothing or wigs, which is more difficult. You have all the advantages of being virtual, so you can look whatever you want to. And I would say really embrace that. And don't be too afraid to play around and change things up.
Yeah, enjoy it. Might as well enjoy it. Do a little bit something different. I always like when people add on new things and tweak their stuff and seeing how nice it comes out.
Absolutely. And not only the adding, sometimes you see people drop a large part and it works out for the better.
Yep.
So
Dare to be different, I guess, would be the best thing to put it as.
yeah, exactly. That's for sure.
Alrighty, that will be the end for today's segment. Thank you for everyone who has listened and who has tuned in. I will see you again next week, Monday, with our next guest. Until then.